Dun, dun, dun.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
Hi, welcome to the Prayers Radio Show. I am Reverend Rich, and you are...
Reverend Paul.
Oh, I got it wrong that time, but that's okay. This is show 12. We were talking before the show about, we're about conversations and putting it out there and having prayer. Paul, I want to know what works. I want the short answer. I want the glorification right now. I want that key lime pie. Don't know if I want alphabet soup. That was a different show, wasn't it?
That was a different show.
So we talked about one of the latest videos I did was on duality and science, and then you said that you wanted to talk about what is that, prayer or something, or
the inspiration behind the prayer. So in our philosophy, they say treat and move your feet, but they forget the most important part is get inspired to move your feet. When you're inspired, you can't say no. You're compelled to go forward.
Inspired. What is inspired? We ask questions on the show. What does inspired mean to you? I mean, I'm thinking
even the word inspired is in spirit. So in spirit, when spirit is guiding us, when we're connected to the spirit within us, who we are, knowing that we are that, we're inspired. We're in spirit to go forth and do whatever it is that is before us.
Okay, so let me understand this, and we have conversations on this show. So you're inspired to do this prayer to manifest, because we talk about mental equivalent. We're using our buzzwords in science of mind, and the mental equivalent itself is that feeling that we have inside of us. And it's, I want this and that, and oh my gosh, and then you get all huffy and puffy, and then you have it in your mind. Because if yours wasn't the mind of God, it wouldn't come in here in the first place. Well, minus external programming, TV, whatever.
Right.
What you feed your brain, what you feed listen to daily, you are. If you're watching criminal shows or, my favorites, some of the what's that called? Some cartoons are fun sometimes. SpongeBob SquarePants, SpongeBob. You want to laugh? That's fun. It's a little dopey, but it's fun. But what do you mean? Because I'm thinking mental equivalent when you say this, and I'm sure our audience is probably thinking as mostly science of mind folks watch this. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, there's a thought, and then there's a feeling for that thought. So when I go in prayer, when I create a video for someone.
Okay.
Like just recently, I created a video for Karen Drucker.
All right.
And she sent me the song that she wanted a video created for. So I went into prayer for the video to see what comes up for me in prayer to be guided with the video. Well, I was done with the prayer, and as I'm ending the prayer, I just get this amazing feeling to go ahead and almost compelling me to go forward to create the video. So I created the video nonstop. Boom. And it didn't feel like I was forced. It felt like I was just compelled. There was this like carrot before the horse, going to get that carrot. And that was spirit for me, guiding me to do the correct stuff for the video.
That's sort of like I think on show 10 we talked about visioning. Reverend Ryan over in San Diego did a class that I was in, and he did this visioning. He does great visioning. I mean, where you sit there and you basically, to be quite frank, it's like guided meditation in my mind. Mm-hmm. But it's guided meditation at that specific time where it brings you to one part, and you think about the next part, and then you think about the next part, and then that you've got it all written down. It's in front of you. When you're doing this type of let's use visioning as a word, or what did you call it before in your mind?
Inspired.
inspiration, where you're
Yeah.
going through it. When you're doing this and you're meditating, doing prayer on it, do you have like a pen in your hand and you're like automatic writing or just writing
Oh, no,
notes
no,
on it?
because I'm in the spiritual mind treatment.
Well,
So
that's
which,
what I'm asking. So
oh
I'm
yeah,
not
yeah,
sure.
which is different for me than visioning. Visioning is asking spirit dedicated questions that we want answers or outcomes to. When I go into prayer, and it happens all the time, if I'm in a situation that I need to have a resolution to, I'll just drop into prayer, knowing I'm unifying with the power greater than I am, and that power is now working through me and supplying me with the answers to the
And then,
inspired way to go.
so it works through you and for you, because our mind is the mind of God. Our mind is individualized expression. And for if you're watching this and you're new, when you do prayer, it's all in this, the box, which is your body. Who do you have when you're alone at night? You. Who were you born in this world? You. Who are you going to probably, when you change form, or you're the one that's having the experience, nobody else. But you're saying that, because God works through us and for us, and then we release it out into law, and God takes care of the things we don't. So
Right. God's not really doing it for me. It's the
right.
law I'm activating. So I'm putting it into the law of mind, which always says yes, which always affirms. So as I'm putting it into it, Spirit's coming back saying, yes, okay, this is your inspiration to go forward.
And that's one of the key components there, is that when you're using the words, the definitions that work for you. Most people, when years ago, when I did prayer, when I did things, oh, thanks God, oh, okay, I found $1 on the floor. Hey, all right, this is cool. Usually it was like, you're walking by at Stop and Go or 7-Eleven or something like that. Oh, look, there's $1. There's a candy bar. You equivalate what you want, and the universe provides.
Right. And you get inspired to see what the universe is providing to you.
Oh yeah, yeah. We talked before about the real quick and easy ones where you're driving into a parking lot. Try
Parking.
this, folks. You're driving into the parking lot and you're saying, God, I know there's a parking spot for me. Not I hope, not I will it, or not, oh, I think there might be. No, God, you got it covered. There's a parking spot for me.
Well,
If you're
well,
doing,
again, we're not doing the God thing. We're doing the law thing, the law of
yeah,
mind.
I'm given the generic. This is how we used to do it. Now,
Oh, yeah,
in
yeah.
science of mind, we go, God, I know there's a parking spot there for me. I know it's waiting for me, and it's going to be real close to the front. If not in the front, it is in the front. And I see it happening, and I give thanks, and I release it into the law. And then you drive up, and they're driving, and you're driving, and there's somebody pulling out.
It's
It
perfect.
works. It always works based on what you believe. Because if you throw anything after but is a negation.
Which is going to take it away from what you want it to go.
Right. Or and. If you use conjunctions, it's probably negation after that. Yeah. Uh, That's just something you can find these in hypnosis books. This is how the mind works and
Mm.
things, which Ernest Holmes dabbled in some of the metaphysical stuff previous to what he was doing because he was trying to explore.
Right. But we're not changing. We're not hypnotizing anybody.
We're
We're
not,
knowing for ourselves.
we're knowing that to be for a specific person, or we're knowing that for ourselves.
Selves,
Mostly we're
right.
knowing it for ourselves going out into the universe. That's the key. But you're probably, if you're watching this, you're doing your own research to figure out what science of mind is about and how it works. And you're trying to figure out probably what am I doing with this life? Do I have to beg God for? No, we don't beg God. We don't bang on doors. We don't. What else we don't do?
Well, it's not so much what we don't do, but what we do do. We know the truth for ourselves. We know that we are one with this infinite power that's all around us, that's in everything. It's in you, it's in me, it's in everything around us. So connecting to that infinite power, we then have the qualities of that power.
And
And
that's the
that's
segue that I'm getting to, is that you provide what you want. I was trying to get to a point on that, but you beat me
oh.
to it. Because a lot of times when we're learning stuff, we want to see, oh well, I don't want that. Well, this is maybe a better idea is to come from a positive aspect of what you do want.
And to be open and receptive to letting it kind of download into you.
Yeah, yeah, that's the sometimes Sun Tzu said, never stop somebody from doing something. If they're going to do it, they're going to do it. And that's the short version of that liner. But a lot of times you just sit there and let God take care of it. Sometimes doing nothing is a better plan than doing something. Now, not the monk on the mountain thing that we had in show number 3, where you sat there forever and didn't do anything. You want to do something in your life and then put that into the law, knowing it's taken care of by the universal all.
And to be inspired by that.
Exactly. Because once you start doing this and realizing how it works, it's an exact science in the science of mind. Mm-hmm. It's an exact science based on your belief, based on your use of it. If there's doubt, guess what? It's a doubt. It's gone.
Right. And that feeling behind it has to be there.
Yeah, and that's the mental equivalent that we talked about earlier. The duality of it is, well, speak a little bit more about the prayer part that you were talking about, because a lot of times that isn't really covered. You get the question, oh, just trust and believe and it'll happen. No.
Well, you have to do the footwork in order for it to happen. And that footwork is what we're inspired to do.
And what is that footwork in your mind? Is it the physical? I'm going to, sow the seed.
It could be physical. My only option may be just to pray and let the law of mind take its course.
There's a logo that I just put up on the screen that I forgot to put up. It's right at the top left of your head there, Paul. And right. That's the other way. There, your other way. There you go. That is a teaching symbol that we use. And it basically is, you plant the seeds, you water it, and you sort of cultivate it, and it pops up.
And it's our responsibility to take out the weeds or the things that we do not want to grow in there.
Exactly. So I'm going to flack that again. There we go. Ooh, that's sort of fun. We do have fun in this show, by the way. A lot of fun. But we have to remember that we're responsible for, you're responsible for your what you're going to get. And that's it. You plant tomatoes, you're going to get tomatoes. If you plant rutabagas, don't expect carrots. That type of thing. You get what you want.
Well, we get what we plant. We get our thoughts and feelings.
I'll elaborate on that a little bit.
So if I wake up in the morning and I'm knowing everything is working out perfectly for me, my highest good is coming through, that's what I will see the rest of the day. If I wake up in the morning going, oh, it's a crappy morning out, it's raining, it's terrible, the universal law of mind, law of attraction, law of mind we call it here, is saying yes to it. It's providing me with whatever it is I'm feeling and thinking into it. And we're feeling and thinking into it all the time. So what are the predominant things we're feeling and thinking into it? And if we don't like the outcome, we just change our thoughts and feelings.
Well, Holmes says something very interesting. He says that we are told that all matter is in a constant state of flow, that it all comes from one source, and that it will eventually return to that source. So the reason why I bring this up is, you might think, well, there's a limited amount. No, there's unlimited amounts. Yeah. If you've ever taken a plane, and I'm sure most of our audience has here, you flying over it, they're saying, oh, there's not any land or anything like that. You fly over from, like, say, from here to Colorado or to New York, and you're looking down going, there's barren land down there, nothing but land and lakes and water and sticks and deserts, and there's plenty of everything out there. Plenty of everything out there. If you do a prayer, make it big, is what I'm getting at. Make it the biggest you could possibly imagine, and then say, God, I'll take even something better if you have it for me. or I'm releasing into the law knowing that it's been covered by source. What do you think?
Yeah, because we're all in the one mind, and that one mind is infinite. So if you can think it and you can feel it, you can manifest it.
Hmm. Well, there's a difference between hypothetical and theoretical. All right, there's something I did one on duality and science, and I gotta remember that quote. It talks. I'm gonna hold it. There we go. Okay, I got it here. I'm going to read this because it says the belief in duality has robbed science in that it has created spirit and matter and a dual universe. However, modern science is rapidly giving out the idea of the universe with the passing of matter into a hypothetical or theoretical ether. There is but a little left on which to hang any belief in materialism. So science is putting out a lot of things and saying that you can't have this because it's limited and this and that. But they used to have something called ether back in the early 1900s, which turned out to be like quantum science. Anyways, it's science, all it is. And they're coming back to that ether thought again, that there's some force in the universe that's out there that manifests things beyond what we are. I don't. There was one scientist, I don't remember it quite often. Try to remember his name exactly, but he said that we all have a black hole in our head that allows the universal infantility to be there. That our minds are endless in the possibilities that we actually have in this physical body here. And to restrict yourself to the belief that materialism, you have to go A to B to C, is something that has to be um, a procedure that has to be done, limits you, because there are things that when you release it into the law, the universe takes care of. The source takes care of all of it, and it's weird. It just works. Whether you're missing something, or somebody shows up and brings you a piece of pie or something like that, or you're sitting inside of a restaurant and I've done this where I've been there and, there's been some police officers there and I say, I got their tab. I'll just pay it. Why? Because when I was a soldier, I had somebody do that for me.
Mm.
And it worked out well because you're circulating to the universe. And then that person looks around for that person that did it. I'm not saying anything. I'm just going to let the universe know that, somebody loves you in this world. Somebody cared enough to say hi. By you even saying hi to somebody, or even just mentioning something, or being friendly to somebody, you're putting those ripples out through the universe. You're creating a universe from yourself, and you're creating a universe that extends beyond yourself to the universe that you want to have. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's the law of mind, always saying yes.
That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
uh, we're actually going to have a lot of guests coming up. We're looking at having Reverend Jim Terrell on, who's been a minister, I think, over 40 years. Sorry, Jim, if I said that wrong. And we're having a bunch of practitioners and other people and science of mind folks, and we've already got it going right now. And we're coming to the end of the show. It just there's preset questions that we want to have, and Paul and I discussed these questions. And Paul, you were saying that we want to know what works. We want to know what works in your life. I mean, you've heard about Paul and I talking. I mean, we're show 12 now.
Mm.
I mean, we want to make sure that this show provides that extra knowledge, that extra thought process that you may be missing, and then maybe feeds ourselves, because that's why we have the show, because we want to know more about science of mind. And if we get you on here, then we're going to sort of go, come on, show us your tools, show us what works in your life. What do you think?
Yeah, how's it manifesting? And
Absolutely.
everybody, because we're unique individuals of the one mind, each person then has their own way of, even though it's we have 5 steps. There's many steps. We choose 5 steps. Even though we have those 5 steps, each person uniquely is bringing those steps to fruition through who they are.
And
And
their own
every
way that they're looking at it.
yeah, and then remember, everything that's physical started in the non-physical. And in prayer, for us, for Science of Mind and spiritual mind treatment, we bring everything back to thought, because thought is the catalyst. Thought is the first thing that we go to.
What is thought in your mind?
Yeah,
I always ask these, if there's any doubt, you should ask a question. Anything in your world, you should ask a question. Where did that come from? Why did it come here? Why did this come in my mind? Why do I believe this? Where did that belief come from?
what are you thinking and feeling? That's a thought. If I
Why am I
think
feeling that way?
if I
Go
think
ahead.
I can't do something, the law is going to give me more things I can't do. If I think I can do something, then the law is giving me more things that I can do.
Well said. I was going to say the same thing, but you beat me to it. Yeah, it'll give you more of what you want, more of what you're working on.
Yeah, so bring everything back to thought, because thought's the first catalyst of everything. I
Right.
mean, even all the scriptures, all the spiritual books that are out there, everything starts in thought.
Everything?
Yeah, everything begins, everything. And even the solid things like this mug, if we look at it molecularly, it's not a solid. It's all these atoms jumping around. So bring everything back to thought. I'm having a bad day. I have a negative thought. Well, bring it back to thought. Change that negative thought into a positive thought. What can I feel and think that would bring about a positive thought? The sun is shining, the birds are singing, I'm happy. Boom. The law is giving me more to be happy about.
Right, right.
And we can bring it out with people too. Let's say we go to a coffee shop and there's a barista there. The barista happens to be in a bad mood. He's affecting everybody up to that. Everybody becomes that bad mood and they see him as a bad mood. Us as science of minders, we go in and we know that that is just a fleeting thought in his head, that he is a good person. He's whole, perfect, and complete just as he is. We call that out in him. He doesn't even know it, but he's now becoming who he really is, a wonderful
Absolutely.
person.
We want to give a shout out to our Twitch audience and our Rumble audience and our Facebook audience, because I think we got it right this time. This has been a labor of love. It is.
And if something isn't ever working out, just drop into prayer.
Well, that's what we did before we started this. Is we
Yeah.
did. I mean, we were talking about the things that we want to work. We weren't looking at how they're not going to work. I'm giving you an example. We don't look at how things not work. We look at how things will work. They're going to work like this or something better.
Or something better.
Because we want to make sure that we allow that source to intervene and give us instead of one ice cube, maybe 5.
Yeah, like how many times have you wanted something, you desired to have something, you go into prayer, you begin your day, you get inspired to walk down a different street or a different way, and the prayer's answered because of your openness and receptivity to that prayer which you just spoke.
Or you took and decided to join a different soccer team, or tried to do something different in your exercise routine. You're like, I never did this. If you're stretching and you find, if I put my hands behind and I do a little bit of extra here, oh my gosh, I got a super stretch out of that. I did that the other morning. I was like, oh wow, I never tried this certain type of stretch, and it did things that I was like, wow, I didn't even think of this. But I researched it, of course. Don't do this at home.
Just and piggybacking that on a different way of thinking, a different outlook.
Where do you get the outlook from, the inspiration from? I know that we talked about books that we were on, the dictionary where
Mhm.
things are compiled, and all these books are compiled before by wonderful authors. Uh, where do you find inspiration at? I mean, we all live in a certain area here, and we all live in our own little bubble, if you will. Maybe go on a vacation and see something different. Or I read a lot, and I'm sure you read a lot, but where do you gain inspiration from in your life?
I gained it from just knowing. Say, how does Abraham Hicks? She's a channeler of
Right,
this entity called Abraham,
right.
and she said, "If you know what you do not want, then you know what you do want, just from the mere opposite of what you don't want." And then you focus on that. I want to know more joy. Well, I'm thinking of things that bring me joy. Watching the birds in the bird bath, that brings me joy. Going to the park, going to the garden, seeing people out playing, that brings me joy. So now that joy is now exponentiating in my life with everything I do.
Now, well, some people would think of that sort of being dualism, where you're looking at both sides of the coin. But the reality of it is that you're looking. You have to have some contrast to see what you do and what you do want. I know that I run 5 miles and my legs would hurt a little bit too much. And then I realized, well, maybe I can do a different way, like a shuffle sort of run, and get the same exercise out of it, if not more, with better breathing inside of it, and finding out it's not tearing my knees up. Uh, but you learn from these things, and then you learn what works. But that, going back to what you were saying, is that looking at it differently, or even finding a better way to do something, might be a little challenging, but it may open up a different avenue that you haven't seen yet. Sort of boom. Okay, I can see more.
Well, let's talk about what you just talked about with the stretching.
Okay.
So let's say I'm in physical pain. I know the stretching will help me. Getting to that point where I can stretch, that's where the prayer comes in.
Yeah, yeah. You can allow the universe to actually make your universe the way you want it to be.
To create it, right, through our thoughts and feelings.
Right. There's
So
a
my so it's like faith. So that's what faith is.
yeah.
You
There's a
know,
book called 30 Days to Yoga by Richard Heidelman that was written in the '60s, that my mother used to use.
wow.
Yeah, and he had a show, and real, bright guy. He had some really good recipes in there too, but it started off slow, and it gave you more stretches and more stretches. And the book's still out. I'll put it in the show notes. Um, again, check with your own doctor, make your own decisions, do your own research. We do not advocate anything of this sort. Blah blah blah. But we do suggest that you look into things that might help you out a little bit. And I find that it starts you off really slow. Just do those 2 exercises at your best, and if you can do it, great. If you can't, well, then do what you can.
It's very similar to prayer. We start off with just relaxing,
Yeah,
relaxing the mind, clearing the mind, just being in the present moment. And then we
exactly.
slowly add on to that.
Right, and then you can go onto our site and look at the CSL prayer. It'll go right in there and teach you how to do a
Mm.
prayer. We've said this many times already, so we're not going to ad nauseum do that. Uh, we're almost at the close of the show. What else do you want to tell our audience today, Paul, in your mind? What do they
Just
need to
just
take away from now?
be mindful of what we're feeling and thinking, because that's always outpicturing to what we are doing in our life.
And as I always say in the show, stop and be present. And I've
And
said that in previous shows before. Just stop and be present. You don't have to react at everything that you want. The knee jerk thing that we've talked about before in our previous shows. Stop and be present. I wrote this in my book. Just stop and be present and be there, because you don't have to react to everything that's under the sun. You can be who you are right now, in the present moment, in the present time.
and a little sidebar to that is, as you're doing that, think about where is the divine in this?
Mm, very good.
Because the divine is in everything. We're just calling out the divine in these circumstances that we don't see the divine.
Right. So let's know together that this is the end of the show. And then we're also pre-recording this, so it will be released on Tuesday. Do you want to do the prayer? Should I?
Go ahead, do it. And just know for the audience too that we're here. If you need a prayer, please let us know. Come
Oh,
to
absolutely.
the site.
Well, we'll do a prayer for everybody right now.
Okay, perfect.
And I always do the 5 steps. And I'm knowing that the light shines upon everybody in the sound of my voice, that as I speak my words for you, as I speak my words for myself, I speak them for you also, knowing that perfect perfection and recognizing that we are all part of Source, that part of that universal all that is inclusive and exclusive as an individual. And I'm declaring right now and unifying with that presence, knowing that God is all there is in our reality. And that reality has manifested today because we have manifested in our minds that we are perfect beings. And since that perfection is us in prayer going in and going out to the universe, all those wonderful manifestations, all those wonderful things, say yes. We give thanks, accepting this or something better, knowing it's so, releasing it into the law. It is done. And so it
And
is.
so it is.
Wow, that was nice.
That was good. Thank you.
All right, so we're going to just close this down and know that it's